The next two games I'm going to show are not only from the same tournament, they were actually played in consecutive rounds, and both with the white pieces. So the first one is against Karjakin. It's from the Bilbao Masters 2016. I'd lost the first round to Nakamura, a game where I was considerably better, but it was my first and only loss to him in Classicals, so that was a bit of a blow. I'd come back to win with the black pieces against Vailly the other day, and then obviously against Karjakin, I was eager to to show who's the boss before the upcoming World Championship. So in e4, he went c5. He does play the knight off a bit, but yeah, it was clear that e5 was his prep for the World Championship, and he was trying to hide it. At least that's easier to say in hindsight. Knight s3, d6. Well, I was surprised by the knight off, and I decided just to play something that I hadn't really looked at, but then again, I thought he might not either. So here there are many moves. Knight c6, knight d7, bishop d7. Generally all pretty much fine for black. Everything except knight takes e4. That's not a good move. But he went g6, which is also a very good move. Castles, bishop g7, bishop b5. Here the point is that in case of bishop d7, you want to take. It looks like white has lost the tempo, but once you get these structures where white goes d4, black takes, and then d5, then bishop is misplaced on g7, and he's also weak in his king side, which makes the possible h-pawn advance a lot stronger. So there is some point to it. Black has also other ways to play, like knight fd7, d4 castles, then knight c6 later on, trying to play some Benoni-like structure, which is also not bad for black. I won a rapid game once against Freycinet, which I was pretty happy with with the black pieces in that line, which I think was my only experience with this line before this game. Karjakin went for knight c6, which is also an excellent move. d4, he didn't take, sorry. Queen b6, bishop a4, takes, castles. I'm not in time, simply to protect everything. If knight c3, he goes bishop g4. So I decided to go d5, which you really don't like doing with the black bishop on g7. He went knight b8, which is perfectly fine. Knight a5 is also good for black. In general, he doesn't have opening problems here at all. Knight b8, knight c3, bishop g4. Always a good idea, getting rid of that bishop, which doesn't really have a lot of work to do. You might think that it makes sense to play bishop d7 first, and then let's say after bishop b3 or bishop c2, then to go bishop g4 to force the white bishop to a more passive square. But I think in reality the bishop is not so well placed on a4 and will have to retreat later anyway, so I think it's rather black will lose time then. Bishop g4, h3 takes, knight b d7, and I remember not being particularly happy here. Didn't really see what I was going to aim for. It looks very harmonious for black. No weaknesses, easy play on the c file, and bishop on g7 doing well. So I decided eventually that I should really play for an attack here on the king side. I felt like that was my only chance of getting any real play here. Okay, knight e5, all quite logical. Knight f d7, bringing the knight to c4. So I play bishop g5. Once again, I think it's just useful to ask him some questions at least. I'm not really threatening to take on e7 because f6 could then happen. But yeah, at least I'm bringing out the bishop. Maybe I'm preparing king h1, f4. Who knows? I have to do something. There are several moves here for him. Bishop f6 is fine, but I understand that he didn't want to trade that bishop. Played this, which is also fine. g5. Knight g6 is kind of the obvious choice here. And then I wasn't so sure what to do. Thought maybe I should try and get knight d1 to e3. But he has ways to meet it, like he could go knight f4. If I takes back, I don't think that's too great for me. He also could go bishop d4, and then I don't think I should take, because he goes bishop e3, f e3, and then puts a knight on e5. So maybe I would go king h1 anyway, but for one thing, I don't think f4 is particularly dangerous for him. He also has counterplay, so I think he's doing quite well there. Anyway, he went queen a6, which I felt was a bit hesitant, but quite reasonable as well. I don't want to exchange. If I do exchange, he has all the play on the queen side, and bishop is out of play on g3. Probably have to trade that bishop. In short, black is just better, so I went queen d1. I really thought he was going to go knight c4 here, and I was calculating lines after bishop d3, knight c5, maybe bishop e2, takes, knight e4. I wasn't so sure, queen d4 or something. I really remember that I was not at all convinced about White's play here. I mean, I thought I'm getting some counterplay at least, so it wasn't a complete disaster, but I was not at all happy with the way things were going. But he went rook c4, which is really a bad move, since that square belongs to the knight. And I think it was a case of trying to keep control of the position. f4 is a little trick. Then he has rook d4. I have no good square for the queen, for instance, queen e1. I think he can go knight d3, and he's doing very well. But I simply go king h1, preparing f4. He cannot do knight g6, and anymore, because then bishop d3 comes. So he's really set him up for the upcoming f4 advance. And though he gets to double the rooks, now my play is actually coming pretty fast, so he's clearly misplayed it now. Queen b6 and now queen h5. Knight f6, queen f5. Taking the opportunity to put the queen on a good square. He went queen d8, threatening queen d7 with a queen swap when he would be absolutely fine. I take, and I went rook t1. Yeah, the rook had done its job on b1, and I'm trying to get it into to play on d3 to d3. My mindset was really all attack here. Sorry, I missed the move. I'd played rook, bishop b3, and then rook d4 before I took on e5. So, yeah, this is the position. Queen d7. So, my earlier point about swinging the rook was obviously nonsense. It was more about challenging the very strong rook on d4. Okay. Queen f3. Now I'm probably threatening to take, and then knight e2, threatening both the pawn and e5. So he has to do something about the rook, and he went rook b4, which is very logical. He's now intending a4, a plan that is not that easy to stop, except that I can go rook to d2, which I think is very important. Now after a5, I can retreat the bishop, put the rook on f2 maybe later, and a4 can be met by a3, not opening any lines. And after rook f8, now preparing knight e8 to d6, I'm finally getting my attack going. It looks like he's very solid here, but in reality it's very difficult to defend already. Like I have the plan of going rook g2, then either h4 or g5 immediately, and it's pretty hard to stop. Anyway, he went a5. Now he's just not in time. I go rook g2, if a4 I go bishop d1, and a3 doesn't really do much. I just take it, and then I push. And he's not in time to attack the knight on c3. So he decided to switch to defense, but he cannot really hold rook b6, g5. Yeah, in case of rook g6, I think I could just protect. If he takes, I take. Queen h5 is gonna come, and he's gonna have huge problems on the h file. We also have plans like knight d1 to e3, and so on. And it's just become a horrible position for him, in the sense that I have an easy attack, and I haven't even sacrificed a pawn. He went king h8. Sorry, that rook is on f1. Rook g1. f5, trying to muddy the waters. As I can recall, I was a bit short of time, but he was much shorter. I think we played, time control was something like 1.5 hours for 40 moves, and then half an hour or an hour for the rest. It was pretty shortened. at least. Queen h3. He won rook b4 back. And now I took. The funny thing is, here I froze. And I thought for a long time, like I thought I'd messed up the game, to be honest, because the plan was always queen g6, knight to g4, take it, and wins. And then I saw rook b6, and I'm thinking to myself, d6, rook d6, wow, is there no mate here? Have I really messed it up? And then I realized that he has actually played a5, so I can just take the rook. But that took me embarrassingly long to to realize. Anyway, once I'd seen that, I went queen g6 pretty quickly here, and knight g4, rook g4. He resigned.